Hi, I'm Steve G. Jones, clinical hypnotherapist. And I want to tell you a little bit about myself before we get started. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Florida, a master's degree in education from Armstrong Atlantic State University, and I'm working on a doctorate in education at Georgia Southern University. I am a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a member of both the American Board of Hypnotherapy and the National Guild of Hypnotists. I'm president of the American Alliance of Hypnotists. I'm the director of the Steve G. Jones School of Clinical Hypnotherapy. I'm also on the board of directors of the American Lung Association in Los Angeles. I have over 2 decades of experience in hypnotherapy. I currently live in Savannah, Georgia, but I see clients and teach classes worldwide. My client base consists largely of people who need to lose weight, stop smoking, or gain some sort of confidence. Other clients include sales teams interested in boosting motivation and increasing income, singles searching for love, insomniacs desiring proper sleep, just to name a few. When I travel to see clients and do hypnotherapy certification classes around the world, I go to such places as Tokyo, Japan, Barcelona, Spain, Paris, France, London, England, Montreal, Canada, Los Angeles, California, and New York, just to name a few. By the way, since you have an interest in hypnosis, perhaps you would be interested in becoming a certified clinical hypnotherapist. It's very easy to do. All you have to do is go to my website, stevegjones.com, and click on Hypnosis Classes at the top. You can either train in person or online. You will then be added to our worldwide directory, and you will receive a certificate. I was fortunate for several years to have an office in Beverly Hills, California, where I worked with such wonderful people as Tom Mankiewicz, the writer of Superman, Geraldine Saunders, the writer of The Love Boat. Recently, I was invited to be on The View with Barbara Walters and Whoopi Goldberg to talk about the powers of hypnosis. And with my over 20 years experience, I'm now happy to share with you techniques which I have both developed and learned about over the years, which I believe can help you improve your life. I encourage you to visit my website, stevegjones.com. There you'll find my life's work. Over 15 books on hypnotherapy, over 250 programming CDs which program your mind to achieve your goals in such areas as weight loss and motivation and stopping smoking. And of course, audiobooks like this one, where I'm talking with you and sharing in a very dynamic way the techniques you can use to make an improvement in your life and the way you do things. And the reason I'm telling you all this is not to impress you, but to impress upon you that your teacher, myself, is very capable, and I know what I'm talking about, and I'm happy to share this information with you. So rest assured you're in good hands, and let's have some fun as we now learn how to do certain techniques in a hypnotic way. I wish you well in your endeavors, and if I can be of further assistance in your journey, feel free to send an email to steve@stevegjones.com. All right, so you've decided to get serious about your goals. I'm Steve G. Jones, clinical hypnotherapist, and it's an honor to be part of helping you achieve your goals. Let's face it, so many people go through their lives and they don't really have a clear plan about achieving their goals. They think that they want to achieve their goals, but they don't really know how to get them. And sometimes they don't even know if they're worthy of getting their goals, or worst of all, they don't even know what their goals are. Maybe the situation in your life is similar to what's happened to me so many times, where I just have a slight suspicion that I have a goal in the back of my mind and I don't really know about it. And the reason I don't really know about it consciously is because I don't really think that I can achieve it. And then I see somebody else who has achieved it and I think, wait a minute, if that person did it, I can certainly do it. Then I get really serious about it. So maybe your goals are kind of floating around in the back of your mind, and every now and then they come up. Maybe you see a doctor and you think, I could be a doctor, and then you let it go. Maybe you see a professional athlete and you think, I could be a professional athlete, and you start imagining yourself being that professional athlete, and then you let it go because quote-unquote reality sets in.
Maybe you see an astronaut and you think, I could be an astronaut. Maybe you see all kinds of people and you think, I could be all kinds of people, but then you let it go. So what happens if we do that? Well, we never pick a goal. We never start working towards something. That is a crime, and I'm here to help you solve that crime, to get you past that so you can start choosing your goals and going after them. And then after you reach that one goal, you go after the next goal and the next one, the next one. What you're going to find is that you develop momentum. You start moving forward in your life. Everything starts falling into place. It's important for you to set goals for yourself in all areas of your life. Planning for your future will cause you to see great improvements in your personal and professional life, and will prepare you for challenges ahead. Because let's face it, the goals that you achieve today are going to look really small compared to the ones you're going to achieve tomorrow. And those are going to look really small compared to the ones you're going to achieve the next day. So you're going to build on your successes. And each goal you achieve will prepare you for the challenges of future goals. So what does it all start with? It starts with making decisions about your future. Give yourself enough time to reflect on your goals and your dreams. Maybe you need to take time to meditate. You need to calm your mind and listen to your thoughts. Listen to your instincts. They're always very powerful and strong. They're indicators of what your subconscious mind is trying to tell you. Your instincts will never lead you astray. Recently, I started reading a book called Blink, B-L-I-N-K, and it's a very good book. It's a wonderful book. And it's a book that talks about trusting your instincts. And I don't promote the book. I don't make any money off the sales of this book. But this book is a wonderful tool that should be part of anyone's library if you're interested in improving yourself. Because what the book basically shows with a variety of different scientific studies is that your instincts are right. When you think something is a certain way, you're probably right. It's kind of like first impressions, or you have an idea that something's not quite right or something is right. If you have that feeling, chances are you're right. Now, not always. You're not always exactly right. In fact, the book goes on to say that sometimes we make false assumptions about people just because we think they're a certain way because of the way they look. And sometimes we can be really wrong. We can make wrong decisions because we think they fit a certain mold when they don't at all. But many times when we think that something is a certain way, it actually is. I say that to tie into what I was saying earlier, that you may have some sort of suspicion in your mind about what you should do. Your subconscious mind is trying to give you an indication. The book Blink got its name because it's talking about in the blink of an eye getting an idea, in the blink of an eye making an assessment, in the blink of an eye making a decision that's actually the right decision, but you second guess it because, let's face it, it came so quickly. I sized up that person that quickly. I suddenly know that they're good or bad or right or wrong. How do I know that so quickly? I'm going to second guess that. Maybe I'll take time to get to know them. What the book says is that your subconscious mind can process information in a split second. Your subconscious mind can actually work like a supercomputer and put all of the available information together at a level that you're not aware of and give your conscious mind a suggestion, a hint about what the situation is actually all about. Have you ever had a suspicion about someone? I don't know, maybe you had a suspicion about someone who's going to marry someone. You thought, that person's just not right for them. I don't know why, but I sense they're not right. And then it turns out years later that they end up cheating on them, or they've been hiding something, or they did something terrible, and it comes out later on, but you knew something in that moment. There was no logical reason that you could put your finger on for knowing it, but you knew something. You knew something was up. That's because your subconscious mind was looking at clues that consciously you weren't aware of. Maybe their eyes shifted a certain way. Maybe there's certain things about them that didn't make sense that you consciously couldn't put together, but it made their story not add up to what they said it should add up to. Your subconscious mind knows a lot of things that you consciously don't know. You may not be aware of a lot of things that are actually going on that your subconscious mind can size up in the blink of an eye. So you need to be aware that your subconscious mind is constantly giving you information. Goals can come to you just like that. Goals can come to you in the blink of an eye. They can come to you instantaneously, and you can just as easily dismiss them. Just as you might size someone up and dismiss that, you can get a full idea of what you should be. You can start imagining yourself being that person, that athlete, that doctor, that astronaut, whatever it may be. You can imagine yourself being that person, but then you let it go. Why do you let it go? Because you second guess yourself, because it seems like fantasy, because consciously you're thinking, how in the world am I going to get from where I am now to being an astronaut? Let's say that you want to be an astronaut, not that you do, but let's just take that as an example. How in the world am I going to get from being where I am now to floating around in space with a spaceship? That doesn't make any sense. I don't even know anybody who's in the space program. I don't know how you even train to be an astronaut. I've never really even been too comfortable with heights. But something in my subconscious mind is telling me about that. Well, if you have a suspicion from time to time, a little glimpse about your future, I encourage you to go with that. I encourage you to give that some attention. So these concepts can come to you in times of meditation. Do you meditate? Do you take time to meditate? Or do you just think that goals are going to come to you as you go through your busy life? I'm going to go through my busy life. I'm going to plan to make my goals. I'm going to plan this. I'm going to schedule it at 3 o'clock Tuesday. I will sit down and write out my goals. I will spend exactly 1 hour. I will write 5 goals. At the end of the time period, I will have my goals and I'll go for them. Is that the way you think it works? Well, you're not giving your subconscious mind the freedom that it needs to show you its true ability. Your subconscious mind has the ability to reveal to you what you really want, your soul's urge, if you will. That part of you, that deep down inside part of you, your subconscious mind that knows you better than you consciously know yourself, is going to tell you what you will be happy doing, what your goals could be and should be. It's also going to tell you when it thinks your goals really aren't worthy of you. Maybe you're studying to be an attorney and you really don't want to be an attorney. That happened to me. For a while, I was studying to be an attorney. I took the LSAT, I think it's the law school aptitude test. Didn't do too well in it because I'm really not meant to be an attorney. But I took a program that prepared me for that. I took the LSAT, didn't do too well, but I was determined. I still started applying to law schools and got accepted to a few. So even though I didn't get the high score that I thought I would get, turns out there are a lot of law schools who were still interested in me. So I started looking into that and thinking about this and thinking about that. And then it occurred to me, what am I doing? I'm not actually interested in law at all. I had some friends who had some legal situations happen to them, and I was wishing that I could help them. So here I am as a hypnotherapist wishing I could help them. Suddenly I'm thinking of jumping ship. I'm thinking of changing gears. Wait a minute. I can help people better. If I become a lawyer, I can become an attorney. I can help them better. Well, thank goodness I didn't. That was early on in my career as a hypnotherapist, and thank goodness I didn't change careers because I really enjoy what I'm doing and I really enjoy helping people as a hypnotherapist. But I thought because of that I should be an attorney. The attorney that they were using was doing such a terrible job that I thought, wait a minute, I can step in here as the hero, as a hypnotherapist. I can't be of much help in the legal arena. I'll become a lawyer and I'll help them and I'll help all of my friends from this point on who need legal help. Once I let go of the idea of helping them in that sense and realizing that there are good attorneys out there who are trained for that, who probably have that as their life's goal, who are cut out to be attorneys, then I realized that I was off track there. My subconscious mind was sending me little hints, though, along the way. For example, I wasn't studying too often for this test that I was about to take. The LSAT, the test that gets you into law school, I wasn't studying like I should. I also wasn't writing letters to law schools trying to get information from them. I wasn't applying to certain law schools. You see, after you take the LSAT, what happens is that law schools find out your scores, and if they're interested in you, they'll send you letters. And as it turns out, no matter what your score is, some law school is interested in you. Whether you score at the top or the bottom or somewhere in the middle, there are law schools for everyone, as it turns out. All you have to do if you want to be an attorney is take the LSAT, and the law schools will find you. You may end up going to law school on a remote island somewhere, but you will be able to go to law school, trust me. So I was not studying for this test properly. I wasn't following up by sending letters to schools that I was interested in. I was waiting to see what would come to me instead of going after schools that I was interested in. And then a friend of mine told me that even though my scores were not quite at the top, because I could get certain letters of reference and because I knew certain people, I could get into an Ivy League law school. Not only that, but I could probably qualify for a scholarship. At that point, I thought, that's great. Consciously, I thought, that's wonderful. Wow, my dream come true. I can go to an Ivy League law school and I can be a wonderful person. I can help all my friends from then on and I'll just be a great lawyer. Well, then what happened is that I missed a few key meetings. There were a few meetings that were supposed to take place that I was supposed to be at. Some of them were phone meetings, some of them were in person. I missed a few of them to the point that I sabotaged this. Now, you may think that this is fear of success or fear of failure or something like that. The way I was able to determine the difference was that I was able to put myself into a hypnotic state and start questioning myself. I started getting a little suspicious when I had this goal and I had a clear-cut path to the goal. What I found out from putting myself into a hypnotic state and questioning myself was that that's not what I wanted at all. I just wanted to help my friends. I just wanted to make sure that they weren't being abused by the legal system, that they were properly represented. I realized that I can hire proper legal help for them. If I wanted to help them, I could help them in that sense. There are people who are qualified to help. I didn't need to become the attorney. Not only that, but I didn't want to become the attorney. I started then looking at what attorneys do on a day-to-day basis, and I started realizing, wait a minute, this is awful. These guys are really just a bunch of paper pushers. I mean, it's not like the movies that I've seen, the TV shows where they're up making a great case in front of the jury. Sure, that happens, but that's not the majority of what an attorney does. The majority of it is really boring. A lot of research in a library, a lot of pushing papers, a lot of filing papers, a lot of waiting for papers to get signed and making sure people sign them and looking up documents. And it was just awful. The more I looked into it, my subconscious mind already knew all of that. It already had all that information. That was nothing new to me. I just had to rediscover it. I already knew that attorneys have to spend a lot of time studying law, spend a lot of time in the library, spend a lot of time reading over law cases. I knew all of that. I knew they had to file papers. My subconscious mind had all that information, and it was trying to tell me by making sure I missed those meetings, slept through them, or quote-unquote forgot about them. It was trying to tell me, hey, Steve, this is not for you. What you need to do is what you're already doing, hypnotherapy. So if you just try to bulldoze your way through your goals, just, I'm going to make this happen, I'm going to do it, well, guess what? You can achieve every one of your goals. But my warning to you with all of this is that they may not be the right goals for you. Make sure that your goals are worthy. Make sure that what you're going after is somewhere you want to be. So imagine yourself there with the end result. Imagine yourself there, see yourself, feel it. If you can't imagine it, then go and spend a day with someone who already does it. You see, once I started second-guessing this law stuff, I started spending time with attorneys. I spent an entire day at a law firm, and I found out, wait a minute, I'm right. My subconscious mind is absolutely right. Boring, not what I want to do, not the glamorous life where I'm saving people and saving the universe with my skill in law that I thought it would be. It's a lot of boring work. It's a bunch of people with suits and ties and people who think they're smarter than the other people, and they're kind of arrogant and they're kind of closed off, and it's not really an open, warm environment, and it's kind of hostile actually, both in the courtroom and in the office. It's not really an environment that I want to be in. So through meditation or through self-hypnosis, you can find out what you really want to do. So meditation is actually a form of hypnosis, a form of self-hypnosis. If you just sit quietly in a room, or you can even do this while you're riding a bike or jogging or driving a car, but make sure you're able to focus on what you're doing, especially if you're driving a car. But you can kind of focus on what you want to be. You can let your mind focus on what you want to be, and you can imagine yourself there. You can imagine yourself being that person, doing that job. And you can really get some insight as to whether or not you would be a good fit for that job, or that job would be a good fit for you, or maybe, just maybe, you're after that goal because someone else told you to do it. You know, another example from my life is that when I went to college, my father thought I should major in business and minor in computers. Now, back when I went to college, when I started college, it was 1985, and when I say the major of computers, that's pretty much what the major was. It wasn't very well specified. It wasn't information technology or anything very specific or web development or anything. It was just computers. So he thought I should major in business and minor in computers because he thought computers were the wave of the future. Well, in 1985, I didn't think that computers were the wave of the future. As it turns out, he was right. Computers have pretty much taken over everything. It's hard to do anything now without a computer. So he was right about that. But what he wasn't right about was business, because business wasn't right for me. I am involved in business as a hypnotherapist. I have a hypnotherapy business, but that's not what I'm about. There are people who handle that. There's an office manager, an accountant, and so forth. There are people who promote the business and so forth, but I don't deal with that. I don't do well in that world. I'm not interested in the business aspect of that. I'm interested in developing things that are going to help people, like this program. That's what I focus on. This goal-setting program is helping people. So that's what I like to focus on. I like to focus on hypnotherapy. I like to focus on developing things that are going to help people, programs that are going to enhance people's lives, programs that are going to help you. I want to make sure that I'm focused on what I really want to do and not getting into the money and the business and accounting and all of that stuff, because that really doesn't interest me. The way I see it, when people focus on business, it's as if they don't have the passion to do what they should be doing, so they focus on just money. I mean, if you focus on business, what is your real passion? Is it money? It seems like it is. It seems like, okay, you're into business, so you're making money for the sake of making money. That's the way it looks to me. That's how it feels in my gut, that when I think about business, and it really turns me off. Now, for some people, that may be wonderful, and I think that's great, because it takes all kinds of people to make the world go round. So there's some people out there who just focus on business for the sake of business, and they want to make money because they love making money. It's exciting for them. It gets them up in the morning and keeps them up late, and they like making money, and they like watching that money come into their bank account, and that's wonderful for them, but that's not what I'm about. So when my father presented his idea of college, he was someone who had lived through the Great Depression in the 1920s that rolled over into the 1930s, the Great Depression that wiped out people's savings, that made them fearful about the economy, and we've seen that several times since then. But as a result of that initial Great Depression, some people who are still alive from that remember what happened. Now, my father has since passed away, but at that time, he was a product of the Great Depression. That's around the time that he was born. He was born in 1925, so in the 30s, early 30s, the Great Depression was still going on. So as a young child, he was exposed to that, all the gloom and doom, and got to save money, and got to put your money away in a safe place, and got to conserve, and don't waste. And these are great ideas, but they can really be taken to an extreme. For example, we weren't allowed to throw away napkins at the table. You wipe your mouth with a napkin at the dinner table, couldn't throw it away until it was almost falling apart. So relatives would visit, and they'd use a napkin, and my dad would give them the speech about, don't throw that away. You can use it the whole time you're here. They would go away, and they'd send a pack of napkins back as a joke. Here, have a pack of napkins. So his ideas came from his childhood, from his early childhood. He was trying to kind of help me out, quote unquote, help me out by sharing with me the idea that focusing on money is a good thing. And guess what? Computers are going to be part of that in the future. So why not minor in computers and have a really good system for making money in the future? I told him I didn't want that because it didn't feel right in my gut. It didn't feel good for me. And if I had followed that, I would have been following what he wants. So think about your own life now. What are you doing that's actually a byproduct or an artifact from someone else? Are you in a career that your parents said you should be in, but you don't feel right in? Are you a doctor because that's the family business? Are you a farmer because that's the family business? Do you do something because that's what your family did? As it turns out, I got a degree in psychology from the University of Florida, and then a master's degree later on, and currently I'm working on a doctorate. A little later in life, I'm going back and working on a doctorate in education, because I believe that educating people about hypnotherapy is what I'm all about now. I'm not only a hypnotherapist, but I'm educating people about hypnotherapists. So why not get a doctorate in education? Why not teach them at the highest possible level? That's what really drives me. That's what gets me up in the morning. That's what excites me about the future. If I had been focusing on business for the sake of business, I probably wouldn't even attend the first class. I would say, yeah, sure, Dad, I'll sign up, and then I wouldn't even go to class. I imagine that's the way it would have gone. So think about your life. Make this real for you. Bring this back home now. What are you doing that's really not a good fit for you? if you're not aware of it, maybe you're blocking yourself from it. Maybe you're not letting yourself see it. Hey, maybe you're right where you're supposed to be, and that's fine too. That's a possibility. But there could be some things in your life that were goals that now you have to live with, like maybe living in a certain place, or having a certain career, or having a certain partner, or driving a certain car, or having a certain job, or whatever it may be. Maybe you have something in your life that's kind of an artifact from someone else, something that came into your life that doesn't really belong there. And you realize it deep down inside, but you're blocked from it because you can't admit that. You can't admit that, because to admit that would be to go against the family. To admit that would be to go against everything you quote unquote believe in. Maybe you don't really believe in those things. I don't know if you do or not. But what I'm saying is, if you take the time, calm your mind, and listen to your thoughts, your subconscious mind will tell you whether or not you're on the right path. So listen to yourself. Trust your instincts. Your subconscious mind knows the answer. So after you start meditating or start hypnotizing yourself, sitting in a quiet place and relaxing yourself and telling yourself, hey, now it's time to be honest. Tell me what you really think of this. You're talking to yourself now. You're in a quiet place. No one else can hear you. Talk to yourself. Hey, self, tell me what you really think about the person I'm with. Hey, self, tell me what you really think about the career I've chosen. Hey, self, tell me what you really think about other goals that I thought were worthy, but I really want to know now. Is this where I want to be? By getting clarity about where you stand right now and being honest with yourself, you're going to be able to create a future full of goals that you really want. I want to make sure that I'm not having you go after goals that you don't really want to go after. I want to make sure that your goals are your goals. And guess what? It doesn't matter what they are. Maybe you want to be a clown in the circus and juggle. It doesn't matter. Maybe you want to be a brain surgeon. Whatever it is that you want to do is fine. And you've got to start being comfortable with accepting your soul's urges. What is it that you want to do? And I'm talking as a person who has experience in this. Believe me, when I show up to a professional meeting of business people or of colleagues in the educational world, and I mention that I'm a hypnotherapist, do you really think that they immediately embrace that and say, oh, hypnotherapy, that's great. My son always wanted to be a hypnotherapist. Or do you think they look at me and say, what a hypnotherapist? What is that? Well, it's the latter. In most cases, it's the latter. And a lot of times they'll say, oh, that's great. And I can tell that, oh, that's great means, oh, I don't know what to say to that. So you're dealing with a person here who speaks from experience. I don't care what people think about my decisions because they're my decisions. And I got that power the moment that I said to my father when I was 17 years old, I do not want to pursue a business degree. I am going to go after a psychology degree because I want to find out how the brain works and why people do what they do. That's what I said, and that's the moment that I really became an adult. And so you need to have your stand with yourself more than anyone else. It doesn't have to be against anyone. It's with yourself. I made a stand with myself that I would follow my goals. And believe me, through my undergraduate years at the University of Florida, I got regular letters saying, hey, the business program's still available. My dad would send me letters. It's still available if you decide that you made a mistake and want to switch to business. I understand that that business is a really good major, and computers, it looks like they're taking off now, so you can really branch out if you have a business major and a computer minor. And I had to keep reaffirming to not just to my father, but to myself, most importantly to myself, yes, this is the path I've chosen. That was his path. In fact, that wasn't even his path. He never got a college degree at all, but he always thought that if you got a college degree, you should get that. So I loved my father. I thought he was a wonderful person. He became a marine acoustic engineer. He would soundproof submarines for the Navy. He wasn't in the Navy, but he worked for the Navy soundproofing submarines. That was a lot more interesting to me than becoming a business person. I would have been more likely to become that than a business person. As it turns out, neither of those really grabbed my interest like psychology did, because the human mind was fascinating to me. So what's fascinating to you, and when are you going to make your stand? And if you're already doing something you love, that's great, because now you're ready to move forward. You're ready to move forward into choosing the next goals.